70,000 naira. State opposed federal government 600 billion naira vote for 70,000 naira. And then on fuel subsidy, Atiku queries federal government over alleged payments. Tell us if you're paying or not. Be sincere with Nigerians. We had a similar story last week, Thursday, and it's here in the news again. All right, after the short break, we'll let you know who our guest is, and then we'll delve straight to the details of the stories we're taking today. Please stay with us on Atlantic Television Network. Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Television Network if you're just joining us. But if you've been here, thank you so much for standing by. The program is Atlantic Blowout and I am Enidoye Jackson. I have with me in the studio Ambassador Ekie C. Ekie. He is a public affairs analyst, one of our regulars in ATN Blowout, and it's always a pleasure having him on the show. Welcome. My
pleasure again being here.
Thank you for joining us.
Happy New Week.
Yes, Happy New Week to you too. Let's look at this story. We have reports that the federal government has launched an agricultural initiative in Bayelsa State under the project Earn from the Soil project, right? The initiative is designed to empower smallholder farms, fisher folks, agri-businesses and coastal communities across the South region. Speaking at the launch, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Community Engagement, South, Honorable Gift John Bull, highlighted Bayelsa's immense potentials for large-scale rice production, drawing inspiration from the success of the Netherlands, a country with similar land mass. The project, which aligns with President Bola Tinubu's mandate to cultivate 500,000 hectares of land, promote year-round farming and encourage the consumption of locally grown foods, was officially flagged off in Bayelsa State on Saturday. Bayelsa's capacity for rice production is a gold mine waiting to be fully realized, Jumbo stated. With the right support and empowerment of our women, we can
inspiring those who are into agriculture, also inspiring those who need to go into agriculture. Like he gave an instance of Finland. You know, there are countries that you visit, they have no crude oil, but they have learned to develop themselves, sustain themselves, become a better and enviable nations by the resources God has given to them. Here in Nigeria, from the southern region, farmers are looked down upon. People feel that farming is meant for those who couldn't go to school, those who are not said we are not educated. And then those who are very educated have not acquired such kind of blessings to their own generation.
But we're talking about today now. You made reference to a statement that people, an ideology that people have that it's only primitive people that farm. Our farmers are primitive. And now you've made reference to for our forefathers, right?
Yes.
We're talking about today's farmers now. Is it far from the truth?
Well, the truth now is we have people who are trying to do mechanized farming over here in the south, Bayelsa too. We have people who have a big fishing pond. We have people who are also growing one crop or the other. So it's no longer in the local way. They're trying to also mechanize it right now. So government coming in to say, yes, Bayelsans, we can shift a bit, not just from crude. Let's see how we can harness the beauty of our vegetation. And what we have been made to hear will become a reality. Seeing Bayelsa now becoming, you know, if not just an exporter of rice or agrarian product, let us see that Bayelsa can even contribute to the feeding of Nigeria.
You talked about, you just said that you hope that it doesn't end at the launch and we actually see the realization of the project. And that's what a lot of Nigerians say and feel when they see a government-owned project. Now, what are some of the challenges that you feel some of these government projects face that makes it end at a launch level and not being realized sometimes?
Part of the issue is political consideration of agrarian lifestyle. Those who are already into it, I think, should even be given the first priority, so that they can boast what they are already, you know, passionate about. So most times government projects, you know, and programs fail because of political consideration and not giving it to the right people. Again, the implementers of this project too, after they launch, sometimes you have a state coordinator, local government coordinator, and all of that, who are just interested in the funds. So they are not interested in the reality of what is.
And we know that's a mindset a lot of these leaders have. A lot of people in leadership positions, I'm talking about down to having probably a project like this, and then you have a leader of the project or from a particular local government, and then, like you have said, they start thinking of what they can get from it. But how do we get to change the mindset of these people?
That's part of what we are doing.
To have a different approach.
I think that's part of why we are here talking. To say that this kind of laudable project should not be based on political consideration. It should not be based on political entitlement to say it's my right. Leader, you must put my name. You know, you must put my children's name, my wife's name, my uncle's name, and then party chairman, give us 100 names. Right? This is 200 name from governor's office. Mr. Speaker, bring 70. You know, so
it's looking like you have experienced. Have you experienced something like this before?
I'm a Nigerian. I'm a Rivers man.
Have your name been included anywhere?
I'm from South. I'm a leader. So
Are you a farmer?
So I'm a farmer, of course.
Oh, portfolio farmer.
not really. A farmer.
What kind of farmer are you?
I farm in extension. Okay. So I'm a farmer. I encourage farming. So I mustn't go to the farm to be a farmer, right? But I encourage farming. Okay. So to the best.
So when we have names of farmers being listed, do we have encouragers also listed?
Well, if I have a particular farming project I want to embark upon, that's only when I can assess it. But if I do not really have one right now, I can encourage those who are already doing it and those who have passion. I think this is a way we can ensure all of us can do the same thing. So if I know that it's not my area of interest, needless of me going to vie for it, because
that might arise from this. But like, let's go to Enugu State. Enugu State government on Sunday announced the commencement of the payment of local government retirees' pensions. And a statement by the Secretary to the State Government, Professor Chidebere Onya, said over 7,000 eligible pensioners had received their payments following a thorough biometric verification process. Onya said the verification exercise conducted by the Local Government Pensioners Biometric Verification Committee had identified and eliminated 2,640 ghost and deceased pensioners who were still receiving payments. The move was part of the administration's effort to clear outstanding pensioners and gratuities inherited from previous government, ensuring that legitimate retirees received their deserved benefits, the statement indicated. Now, the SSG, who frowned on the level of fraud in the pension system, said the record provided by the local government
deserves the wages of their labor while in service. I think is commendable. Secondly, digitalization is a global approach towards issues, but it doesn't stop corruption, because it's it's also controlled by humans. So the digitalization is not a spiritual thing. So human beings are also the ones that.
So you think Nigerians have gone ahead of technology now?
No. It's a global thing. It's not about the people who operate it. If they are men and women of integrity, that's only when you can see the righteousness and digitalization of all of these desires. So my take is also this, to make a suggestion. Now, most times when pensioners passed on, not that the agencies where they work for, sometimes they communicate them. And because when they go for the burial, they see how wretched, how the economic lifestyle of that family is. Those who are in the offices are the ones who are receiving it, and they are not even making sure it gets to those who are supposed to receive it. So there are so many reasons why we have these ghost pensioners.
Before you continue, let's talk about the very first reason you mentioned, about the fact that based on, like you called it, moral grounds but not legal grounds, the colleagues of the deceased pensioner might want to help the family of the deceased pensioner so that they can keep getting the money of that person. Now, let's talk about that. Don't you think a better way to help this family would be to make the access to the pension, that's the remaining funds now, the lump sum, to make it easier? We've had a lot of families of deceased pensioners that complain about the process of getting this thing done. You know the way some of these government workers can be. You submit a file, and before that file is moved, before something is just sent, you keep hearing things like the system is down. For 1 week, the system will be down. They're implying...
There are things that you can do. If the civil service rule is against you establishing a company, a business, you can empower your wife. You can empower your loved ones, your children, people around you. You mustn't be the CEO of such ventures. Knowing too well that if you empower your wife, empower your family members, you are empowering yourself.
What exactly would they empower their family members with the little salary they collect?
You see, in business, no money is small. Dependent on your vision, dependent on your projections and the favor of God. You can start a business with 5,000 naira, and over the period of years, it can develop, it can grow. Money grows. So many businessmen that are funding it, and it will continually grow. Over the period of years, it will shock you that little business of 10,000 has grown to become a multi-million naira business. Yes, I'm saying from experiences too. So no money is small when it has to do with entrepreneurship.
But we cannot still rule away the fact that the system has to work.
Yes, we encourage that the system needs to work, but while we wait for a better system, the people must survive first of all. Just like we talk about most of government policies, that they are laudable, but we need reality, immediate sustenance before those programs and projects become visible. So while we trust that government institutions need to be more viable, more reliance, the resources for service delivery. Most times, someone who is in charge of the laptop, the computer,
yes,
will tell you there is no data. That's why we cannot. And the question is, in his own private laptop, there is data. But the question is, he cannot go ahead to provide data because of the bureaucracy. I don't know whether you get it. Not that he may not have the resources, but he needs to get approvals.
True. Before
he can do that. So these are part of the bureaucracies that brings delay. That's why we are talking about ensuring that resources, and the resources meant for service delivery are are timely. And then the resources too that are meant for should actually be used for it.
What are we talking about? We have to wait for an approval.
Yes, of course.
That's a human being who's going to approve that. Is this supposed to be so much of a big deal or cause for conversation?
When the human being is not available. If it's a
okay, so you're saying some of them are usually not available?
Most of the time. Sometimes they go for an assignment that takes away their presence from office. Oversight
then
function.
Other times?
Most of the times, health factors. There are so many challenges unpredicted.
That keeps happening over and over again. That it is too frequent.
Well, they are humans.
So what's the if you have things that will take you outside, that's not making you do your job all the time, is there any excuse that we want to put up now?
Most of the times, the resources, the allocation for the running of a particular...
Where we have reports that the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, has announced the donation of 3 billion naira to KB flood victims. Edun, who was in KB on Saturday, for the spot assessment of damages on rice farms at Agungu local government area of KB State, said that the Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of 3 billion naira as support to farmers who lost meals, where he was shown round by the governor to see the production capacity of the rice mills. While expressing satisfaction over what he saw at the company, he said that the rice mills had created thousands of direct and indirect jobs. We are happy with what we have seen here, which shows that KB alone, if well funded, can feed the entire nation. Minister Wale Edun urges that President Tinubu is ready to help in the expansion of the rice mills and other mini rice millers in Kebbi to boost mass food production, which will go a long way in reducing flood inflation in the country and to create more jobs for Nigerians. His host, the governor of Kebbi State, Dr. Nasiru Idris, appealed to the president to come to the aid of Kebbi rice farmers adversely affected by heavy flood that have washed away some rice or crops in rice farms. We appeal to President to assist our flood victims, particularly the rice farmers whose farm were devastated by flood, to at least mitigate their loss. Idris informed the minister that KB alone can feed the nation, as they have supported farmers with free fertilizers, free seedlings, free pumping machines to fast-track farming activities in the states. Now, these were some of the things that were donated. He noted that as soon as the wet seasons run out, the state is ready to engage in massive dry season farming with same support and encouragement of farmers. The minister was accompanied by the Minister of Budget and Economic Plan, Atiku Bagudu. That had to be added to the story. Ambassador.
Well, I want to thank Mr. President through the federal government for being apt to the response of the KB victims of the flood.
Yes.
I'd like to condole with them again and ask that the good Lord will comfort them. But I also want to say that, yes, the good Lord has brought comfort with the approval and the support of 3 billion naira given to the Kebbi State flood victim. So it should be noted that this money is not given to Kebbi State government to fund agriculture. Yes. This money is given to the flood victims, yes, not to Kebbi State government. But the scenario that we see in most instances, we are trusting that Kebbi will be a different state, that this money targeted to the flood victim should actually get to these flood victims. It's not a question of setting up a committee, rent a new office duplex, furnish it, buy a car for the committee members, and begin to apportion impress and begin to apportion running costs for their offices. It's not necessary. These people are local people. The local government authorities, the councillors, the chiefs, the religious leaders know these people. So it's not a situation of forming a new board, a new commission to see how 1 billion will go to board members first, buy cars for them, set up new secretariat for this board just for this 3 billion naira. The secretariat, they will equip it. So we don't need all this money to go to any board. There are local government authorities. Local government chairmen are there. Councillors are there. Traditional rulers are there. Opinion leaders are there. Religious leaders are there who know their people.
Okay, so because before you said this, I was wondering how they were going to locate the actual farmers.
They just need to meet opinion leaders, traditional rulers, religious leaders, councillors, local government chairman. They have to work with the local government chairman, work with the councillors, work with religious leaders, opinion leaders, traditional rulers, youth leaders, women leaders.
Flood victims, that's farmers who have lost their crops to the flood. It's not meant for infrastructural development.
No. Flood victims, particularly to also enable them recover from their loss in farming. Yes,
of course.
You know, the victim is not everybody that is a farmer that is a victim of that flood. It's flood victim.
It's meant for farmers who lost their crops to the flood. This is more like encouraging agriculture in the state. Okay. So a lot of farmers have lost a lot of money.
So if it is just for farmers, I think it's also good, and I believe that the government of the state will now take care of the other areas that the flood victims are also in need of.
Of course, that's why the government is there, and there are monies that are allocated for that. So you cannot say this money should be used for high-borne water and all of those things.
The intention of the federal government should be implemented. If it is for the farmers, let it be for the farmers. And they will now trust that those who are not farmers, who are into other kind of businesses, who have also suffered loss because of the flood, the state government can also intervene in their regards.
All right, so we are hoping that this money is well channeled. But do you see, so much the news has told us that the federal government is doing for farmers, right, to encourage agriculture. But while we are trying to encourage agriculture and the production of goods, food products and all of that, what about the security aspect? Would you say we have measurable steps that are also taken to protect farmlands in Nigeria?
Well, I think
or even farmers, yes.
Well, first of all, security is everybody's business. Not all farmers needs, the kind of security in quote that we are looking at. A farmer in some part of this country do not need the presence of a military official, for them to
That's not the
farm.
only form of security that we have.
I understand. That's what I'm saying.
Because calling a military official, that's like you're trying to go extreme.
That's what I'm saying. That the kind of security that is needed in a particular geopolitical zone or state or rural area may not be the type another local farming area needs.
But you agree that they all need security?
Every farmer, that's why a farmer goes with cutlass. If you see a
for
snake,
security purpose.
If you see a snake, you can use the cutlass to
We're
kill.
not talking about security from snakes.
No. I understand.
We both understand what we're saying.
Yes. Now, you are aware, maybe we need to re-emphasize that the federal government have approved the issue of
10,000.
rangers. I said federal government have taken a lead, an initiative. The state government can complement. The local government can complement. They look for them to do this and that. Are you
taking the federal government away from the picture of security in these states and these farms?
The states, the local government, the states, the community leaders are the ones that will recommend the security challenges that they are having.
You think they have not done that?
When you are saying federal government should come, federal government is not. Everybody has their areas of jurisdiction. The federal government supervises. The federal government supports and complements what the states have. So I think that the part of the primary responsibility of a local government chairman, of a state governor, is to protect lives and what? Properties. So if you can no longer do that, the law gives you the privilege to resign. If
you have the military and all that. There was a state that recorded recently that immediately the military left that particular area in the state, insecurity increased, and the state governor had to advise people.
Police system and the army system that is directly controlled either by the IGP, and that all of them still respond to the commissioner of police. Now, if there is a need for, sometimes our leaders come to the public to exonerate themselves. Security matters are not matters mainly that should be discussed in the public. So all what we are expecting most times is the proactiveness of our leaders to say, in this locality that we are having this issue, we have set up a committee to look into the matter. We have also set up a collaboration with the security operatives to see how they can, clamp down on the issues that is challenging that locality. And we are trusting that we also want the support of the Mr. President in directing the IGP, because the governor can't direct the IGP. They can only relate with the state commissioner of police, the brigade commander, or thereabouts.
That means you still agree. If you have stated the limitation of the governor in the security matters of the state, that means you also agree that the federal government has a big role to play, and it's not out of place for the state government to call on the federal government to come intervene in the issue of security in the state.
No. We are not saying it's wrong. What we are saying is that it should not always be pushed to the federal government.
Is it always being pushed to the federal government?
You see, when a little thing said, we call on Mr. President.
Not a little thing. Banditry is not a little thing in Nigeria.
We agree. We agree. If we want to stay here and discuss security issues, we will not go here today. So
do you want to go?
No, we have other issues. So
we still have the time allocated to this particular story is still available.
Yes,
so feel free to give your thoughts on it. Yes.
Now, local government chairman to protect lives and properties. question is, if you did not know what to do, why did you aspire to become a governor?
You can't say the governor does not know what to do.
No. If what you knew...
If the federal government... Okay, why did the federal government release the 10,000 agro rangers around
the federal government released, approved, are you getting it? Directed. It doesn't mean that the state governor cannot collaborate with the...
bring up the other number.
He can collaborate. He can as well raise system like we have in Rivers State and some other states that assisted, you know, in curbing the issues of kidnap cases, cultism in most of our localities. They know what to do. So if the federal government have say, okay, we are supporting with this, the state government still knows what to do. You can't expect that all the police, all the civil defense should be deployed to one state because of one matter.
Nobody said that.
Like I told you,
they're just saying 10,000 is not enough for even the 19
and I have mentioned to
mentioned.
you that the security operatives all are shortage of women. Do you want to join police? They are looking for more recruits. People are not ready.
Are you asking Nigerians if they want to
I'm
join?
asking. The issue is that if there's time for recruitment and there are Nigerians who are ready to be recruited and they refuse to recruit them, you will know that is intentional. But in this case, we have shortage of manpower. They are killing most of the security operatives in the front of war. So every day we are losing people, and then we are also asking for recruitment.
No, we have a lot of people who are when we hear that there have been new people are being recruited, or we hear that they just graduated, like the military school that they were just graduated from recently. We hear thousands. So I really haven't seen anyone come out to say that Nigerians do not want to get involved.
No. You see, the population...
In fact, what they're even Good to know you're still with us. It's time for us to delve straight to the next story now. We have reports that the human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has called on Nigerian lawyers to take decisive action against the illegal arrest and detention of its citizens. In a statement issued on Sunday commemorating the 2024 annual conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, Falana urged the association to implement a robust mechanism for enforcing Enforcing the Administration of Police Establishment Act and Criminal Justice Act, both of which have been adopted by all 36 states of the Federation. Falana emphasized the need for Nigerian lawyers to lead the charge in ending the violation of citizens' rights by police and other law enforcement agencies. Despite the laws that prohibit arrest and detention of individuals for civil wrongs and breaches of contract and mandate legal representation, humane treatment of suspects, and conditional or unconditional bail, Falana lamented that these rights continue to be violated. He urged the NBA to direct its human rights committees to across 128 branches to accompany chief magistrates during their monthly visit to police stations. Now, accompany chief magistrates in their monthly visits to police stations. Alright, which would help curtail the unlawful detention of suspects. The NBA should direct the members of the Human Rights Committee of the 128 branches to accompany Chief Magistrate during their monthly visit to all police stations in the country. In his words, such visits will end the incessant arrest and detention of suspects and others. Falana also called on the NBA leadership to pressurize the chief judge of the Federal High Court to designate judges for monthly visit to detention facilities operated by the Armed Forces, Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Independent Corrupt Practice and Other Related Offences Commission, National Drug Law Enforcement Agencies, Customs, and the State Security Service as mandated by law. We'll come back to this story and the other part and other things that he has advocated for. But you know, it's high time we had this conversation. This has been on for a long time. A lot of Nigerians know. We've heard of cases where people are awaiting trial for a long time. We've heard of cases where people will be held in detention that you've gone to court already, you have been sentenced, and then you stay there longer than the time that you were sentenced. When I found out about this, I was so shocked and I wondered why that would even happen. I mean, I believe that anyone who's sentenced is reading and counting the day he would come out of prison, and then the day reaches and you're telling there's nobody to even talk to, there's nobody to cry out to. So if Falana is finally coming out and saying all of these things, these are things that should really be looked at. What do you think?
Well, first of all, it's a good advocacy, and it brings a lot of questions in my mind and also in the minds of Nigerians. Firstly, a magistrate that is appointed by the government of the day most time tends to do the bidding of the state government to remain in office and also to remain in a particular juicy courts. So there is if I would call it politicalization of the judiciary. Now that needs to be addressed. There should be a clear, according to the law, what do you call it again? The different arms of government, the autonomy of each of these arms of government. The judiciary is supposed to have according to the law, to be autonomous, to be independent, you know, ought not to take approvals, directive from the executives. But most times, we are not saying that that is what is right, but sometimes because of understanding, they collaborate together. Again, I also want to lend voice to say, it's not just about human rights lawyers. Most times, some persons are kept in the correctional centers, having been fined, the tone of maybe just 50,000 naira, 30,000, 100,000. I've seen instances that, you know, yes, some good Nigerians, I have friends too who are involved in that. Recently, one of my senior friend, Professor Christopher Emomole, you know, went to a prison in Abuja. He has been doing that regularly. So all he does is they look at those who have been sentenced, with fine, and then they will accumulate the resources. He will pay. It's not the first time he's doing that. And we have Nigerians that are doing that. So most times it doesn't need a kind of a showbiz arrangement where human rights lawyers will come, and the law has already passed a judgment on them. But they only need that little support, the resources, to be paid. That's a fine. And then they go. That's why you see some of them stay there and look as if they are illegally detained. No. That's on the correctional center. And then most times too, the law gives the security operatives most times to keep a certain criminal upon investigation. Are you getting it? Maybe they are trying to gather information and all of that to a reasonable extent. Yes, we are aware that the law states that you can't keep any person more than 48 hours, right? You need to send the person to the courts. And most time when the person is sent to court, people will now say, oh, they illegally detained the person. Whereas the police is trying to do what is lawful. So I like to say that there is need for intentional collaboration with the police, emphatically, and the Nigerian army, with members of the jury. Yes, okay. Since it was addressing the NBA, rather. So the NBA must also rise up to her responsibilities, not playing politics with the association. The association is supposed to be a kind of succor, not just to the lawyers, because they have units like it talks about the human rights unit of the NBA. So we have human rights unit, we have human rights lawyers in the state, in every state. So there is need for collaboration, not just an indictment. It's outright indictment on the Nigerian police force, neither to the Nigerian army. There should be a kind of collaboration. I would suggest that as part of the security committees of every state, NBA should be part of it, so that NBA members, the lawyers who are in that security team, will have the privilege and the right from time to time to suggest to the security operatives of what is going on and how the law are being abused. I would also like to state here that most of the senior police officers that we have today, some are lawyers, so they also know the law. Some of them are also part of the NBA. Because it's not the era where the police officers are not educated. Most are lawyers, they are called to the bar.
Okay, talking about that now, then why do we also have cases like this? Because he also advocated for state attorney generals to ensure that only legal practitioners get to prosecute criminal offenders.
You see, okay.
Okay, yes. Continuing with that story now, he made mention of as seen in Delta and Kansas, which have abolished the practice of police officers without legal qualifications handling criminal cases. He urged lawyers to provide pro bono legal services to indigent citizens with genuine complaints. So why would we have the police prosecuting when, according to him, the law does not stipulate or give a provision for that?
When the desirable is not available, the available
becomes the desirable that is not available.
Now, the Nigerian police, when you go to court, you always have versus. On a criminal matter, most criminal matters are being, initiated by the Nigerian police on behalf of the government, on behalf of the IGP. So it is not out of place if you are prosecuting, and then they have a prosecutor in the police unit to go and represent the Nigerian police force. It's not out of place. But all what he's trying to advise is that it's good for the prosecutor to become a lawyer. And most of the divisions, most of the prosecutors are now lawyers to a reasonable extent. He
stated clearly that it is out of place for the police to prosecute an individual. Without that, he talked about the lawyers should be the only ones to do that, right? The judiciary should be the only ones to do that and not the police. If he has stated that it is out of or it's against the law, there is no explanation that wants to make it lawful, something that is unlawful.
Well, I think I would like to agree with you because you have assumed that our elder brother and our father, revered statesman, Femi Falona, is an authority of the law, and I cannot sit here to argue with him. So I like to say that if he has advice and they're giving that professional advice, I like to go with it. But I would like to encourage that there should be a periodic visit to the police, like he said, to correctional centers. And then when you talk about lawyers giving pro bono services, you see, the economy has also affected so many, legitimate and philanthropic actions of many Nigerians. I know that lawyers who would have loved to do these pro bono services. Pro bono services means free services, but some don't even have transport or fuel to the police station. So even you desire the pro bono services and you cannot even provide fuel for the lawyer, it becomes a challenge, So I think that the NBA should designate some certain amount of funds for lawyers who are interested in pro bono services. In case where the individual cannot afford to aid the pro bono service. The lawyer is saying, don't pay me, you get it, but I need fuel to get to that place to represent you. So in that case, it's still pro bono, and the lawyer do not have. So NBA should, those of us who are lawyers that have plenty money, philanthropists, let us support the NBA at this point in time at our various chapters, so that there could be, a designated fund for pro bono lawyers, for the human rights lawyers, so that our citizens can enjoy these privileges in their defense in cases of injustice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ambassador. Let's look at this story talking about the minimum wage now. The representatives of state governments at the last Federation Account Allocation Committee meeting have bemoaned the decision by the federal government to save additional revenue for the payment of the new minimum wage. This development, which affected their revenue distribution from the Federation Committee, was received with opposing views when an update on statutory allocation showed that the government transferred a sum of 200 billion naira in non-savings account at the August FAC meeting, making a total sum of 595 billion naira. The Commissioners of Finance, Akwa Ibom, Dr. Linus Noah, Delta, Okemo, Teleje, and Ekiti Akintunde Oyebode raised the observation at the last FAC meeting held in August 16, 2024, minutes of which correspondence actually obtained. And at the meeting, it was learned the committee distributed a total sum of 1.36 trillion naira to the three tiers of government, 1 billion naira less than 1.3 trillion naira shared in June. This is despite recording an increase of 13 billion naira between the gross total of 2.6 trillion naira in July and 2.4 trillion naira in June. Now, in its opening address, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, applauded the President for signing the National Minimum Wage Act into law, adding that its implementation will be of immense benefit. But then he further disclosed that the discussions were still ongoing on the consequential adjustments. And the minutes quoting the minister read that work on the new minimum wage is still in progress, adding that the government had continued to dialogue with organized labor and private sector. But let's go back to the very first paragraph of this story, which has actually told us a lot about what the story is about, where we have reports that representatives of state government at the last FAC meeting have been on the decision of federal government to save additional revenue for the payment of the new minimum wage.
Well, I want to feel that the state governments are never having enough money, and the local government to run their states. Of course, I want to agree with them that they need resources to implement their budgets and the visions and the dreams they have for their people. But in any case, I expected that this is a federated nation, it's a federated country, where there should be a set of understanding between the federal government and the state government on matters that affect the entire Nigerians. But most times, when it's a matter that affects the entire Nigerians, state government will tend to oppose it. But when it has to a matter that has to do benefit a particular state, the state will feel that federal government should be considerate on them. So I think there should be a harmonious understanding among the leaders, the states and the federal government, to ensure that what is best for we Nigerians is being done.
But you know, it stated that it affected their own revenue.
Of course, now we are talking about...
You don't expect them not to oppose it.
No, they shouldn't. I said in similar cases, when it is something that will affect the state will vehemently oppose. But if it has to do with federal government decision that every Nigerians from different sectors can enjoy, not directly from state government, they tend to oppose it. That's when the state will say we are in charge of the entire citizens of our state, so we actually need more money. But if it is an event where the more money they are receiving is even getting to this, and the citizens are having a better life. In fact, I would advocate that federal government even do not have this money, because every citizen falls under a state. But in most cases, even the bills that states are having, the impact is not even seen among citizens. So I like to say that if the federal government savings is going to help the entire country, I want to appeal to state government to be patient and then understand with the federal government on this matter. Now, the sharp resistance, the insist is based on minimum wage, right? There are new policies government have taken that requires more money. Is that correct? So if the federal government, because state governments too have opposed the minimum wage, most governments say they cannot pay. And I wonder if you cannot give your worker minimum of 70,000 naira with all the billions you are receiving every month. These are citizens of your state, and you are saying that 70,000 is too much for them to have. I wonder where our conscience, as leaders, have been dropped. So I'd like to say that the federal government, if they meant well on the issue of implementing the minimum wage of 70,000 naira, and that money that is going to be kept, Nigerians who are workers will actually benefit from that 70,000 naira, irrespective of the complaints of state. I would like to encourage that the federal government should keep that money, and then encourage that state government who are willing to pay that 70,000. It's a small money. I know that when you tabulate it, it's a big money, but there is no state that is not taking billions of naira. And there is no state that the workforce, they will tell us that salary of a workforce of a state is up to 5 billion naira. Talking about billions of naira, let's take the story that refers to fuel subsidy now. Atiku Abubakar, the former vice president of Nigeria, on Sunday has asked the federal government to explain the 7.8 trillion naira outstanding subsidy claims by the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, despite the subsidy removal by the Tinubu's administration. Now, apart from the NNPCL's claims, the IMF has also estimated that subsidy payments this year will constitute 3% of GDP, which is about $7.5 billion. This will be about 11.8 trillion naira. Yet the petrol scarcity continues to linger, while the Tinubu's administration continues to frustrate the Dangote refinery and even its own NNPCL facilities. Obviously, the subsidy regime has become an even wider conduit pipe through which monies for funding of the 2027 election will come from. The former vice president, in a statement by Frank Shaibu, his special assistant on public communications, wondered why the firm owned by the president's nephew got an accelerated approval on the purchase deal. Now, that's another story. But let's look at the allegation on fuel subsidy. This has been on. We also discussed this on Friday. There were stories around this research that was made, and then discoveries that were made, research that was done, and discoveries that were made concerning the fuel subsidy. Statement by the NNPCL being held on to by the former vice president of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar. People already speaking up and saying, if you're paying subsidy, why don't you just tell us? Well, I wish I'm a government spokesman right now, and I believe I would have availed myself with the relevant information that surrounds the fuel subsidy directly. So when I'm speaking, I should have been speaking authoritatively. So I'd like to say that the request and the demand of most eminent Nigerians on the government to clearly tell us if they're paying subsidy or not, because government have always reaffirmed that they are not paying subsidy, that the fuel subsidy have been removed. So if I want to trust Mr. President, I will agree that fuel subsidy have been removed. But hence there are informations, coming out from the of subsidy being paid. I would like to ask that the government spokesman that has better information on this matter should create time and see how they will address and give Nigerians the proper information that surrounds the payment of fuel subsidy. But of today, if I want to trust my president, Mr. President, I will say fuel subsidy.
Like you always would want to do.
Fuel subsidy has been removed, because I like to respect leaders and trust them until they prove otherwise.
So this, with this action, you don't see any otherwise proof?
Well,
here?
Until you can get information from anywhere. So I like to say
now we're talking about the NNPCL statement, and we're talking about the yes, the statement. But let's even hold on to the NNPCLs first. NNPCL statement.
My case and my position is this: that I do not have the full knowledge about.
Of course, nobody is expecting you to give the knowledge.
So that's why I'm only just.
You're talking as a Nigerian now. How do you see this story?
I'm supporting to say. That's why I said that government spokesman, somebody from government who understand what surrounds the subsidy, should come up quickly and address Nigerians and inform Nigerians that no longer subsidy.
Okay, but you said to subsidize, right?
Well,
okay, why didn't you use it now?
Maybe
you said
it could be reduction price.
That's the definition of subsidy.
I don't know. So that's why I said that when government spokesman come, they will tell us that reducing the cost of a product with social amount of money, but it's no longer called subsidy. So when they come out, they will now tell us if there's subsidy payment, or there is another kind of payment, that is no longer called subsidy. So that's why I said that government agents should, a spokesman from government should quickly, because it's a burning issue all around different media right now. So I trust Mr. President that distant time, if not himself, his spokesman or somebody from the Ministry of Information is going to give Nigerians the right information.
That. But until then, you trust your president and you believe that
I trust my president. He said subsidies have been removed, and I believe it has been removed.
Thank you so much. We appreciate, just as you trust the president, we appreciate
you.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us on Atlantic Blowout. And we must also say thank you for being a part of the show. Big thanks to Samuel for being at the MCR, and then Silas for joining me here behind the camera. And big thanks to you once again. Remember that we are open for sponsorship and partnership. Facebook and YouTube, join us or link up with us at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, and on X at Atlantic TV Net. Watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Remember always that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Eni Doye Jackson. Thank you for watching once again. Join us again tomorrow, same time. Coming up next is Open Conversation. Stay with us.